Hiya, Microbore. What is it? What is it? I don't know. Right. So Microbore is really important because it creates like pinch points on the system. So therefore, if you've got small gauge pipe work, then the amount of heat output from each radiator may be reduced. So there's a lot of it about. What types are there? Well, plastic and copper. There's only really two types. And some of it's 8mm copper, some of it's 10mm copper, and there's also a 10mm plastic. But there are three main types of Microbore. 10mm copper, 10mm plastic, we can work with that, but we have to be mindful of how much heat output the radiator will give you. And 8mm copper is a no-go. We'll need to do a bit of repipe work to make sure that we're going to get a decent flow to the radiators. So how do you know? Well, a little bit of history first of all. What happened was in 1970, 73, 74, there was an oil shocks which caused a lot of turmoil in the industry. Cost of copper went through the ceiling, and as a result, people started making narrow gauge pipe work. And that was fine because people were generally burning oil and gas. So the flow temperature of boilers, design temperatures, was high, 65 degrees, which meant that the small pipework carrying red hot liquid around the radiators, it still heated the rooms. It still worked. But if you want to move over to a heat pump or the future proof in your home, low carbon heating, some form of low carbon heating, then really you should be looking at a decent flow around the system so that we can carry the heat low and slow without having to work too hard, which makes it has an impact on the overall efficiency of your heat pump. So if you've got Microbore plastic, whether it's copper or otherwise, we need to put a slightly bigger pump in the heat pump, so it's a circulator inside the heat pump, and that means that's going to chew a little bit more juice. So when you sort of looking at the fine-tuning of a heat pump under a microscope going, I want to be getting my 3.4 coefficient of performance, I want more, then one of the components in that is actually what work we've got to do to move the heat around your house, and that's down to the pipe work. So Microbore is quite an important part of the survey, but don't worry too much because we can work with whatever we find. So let me now show you what pipes you get in an ass. What? We've got pipes. Oh, this light is amazing. Right, when my eyes have recovered. So standard, what's that on that? That's better. That's a standard system gas boiler. These are the main flow and return pipes that you go up into the heating system. They go around a coil inside the cylinder, and then they tee off around the radiators. So we can see that these are in 22mm copper. There's a 15mm copper for comparison, and that's a gas pipe. It's a painted version of the same thing. So, if they're in 22, turn the sun off. So if those pipes are in 22, we know that this is quite typical, they run up here. They run in the ceiling, they run around the first floor of the building, and then they drop down into the rooms because the central heating was put in after the house was built. So there you can see a couple tucked away behind the curtain, and they drop down to feed this radiator, flow and return. And that's all part of the 22mm circuit we know that's above our heads, or at least we're assuming is above our heads. This one as well, that's 15mm copper. 15mm copper is about the size of a AA battery. So that's exactly what we expect to find or hope to find. And if all of your pipe work is that sort of size, happy days. However, there are other types. Now upstairs they've got smaller gauge pipe work. So with seamless editing skills, he finds a tapping device. It's a metal pen, and you can tell from just giving it a little tap that it's metal. If it's metal sounding, then it's copper. Unlike this one, because this is plastic. Sounds different. It's also bendy. So on new build houses, what you find is the pipes drop down in the wall and they pop out behind the radiator and they sort of curve down to the pipe. Give them a wiggle, They're almost certainly plastic pipework. Now they didn't make an 8mm plastic pipe, so if they're plastic, they're 10mm. If they're copper, I'm going to pretend this is one. There's two ways of measuring it, or many I'm sure, but one way is to get out your old faithful caliper vernier that you've had for 150 years, like me. There's no glass, there's no battery, but it blooming works, I tell you. So what you do is you just clasp the pipe and slide it away, and you can see there the line of the bar is on 10mm. Actually, this is a plastic pipe, I've just remembered, so you might also find some writing on the back of the plastic pipes. That's never easy to see, because unless you take the radiator off the wall. So we need a bit more of a sensible way of doing it. Another way of doing it is to just simply get a tape measure and slide it around the back. So you can just about make out there that the two outside edges of the pipe are lined up with the centimetre bars. So that's an external diameter of 10mm. So caliper says that, tape measure says that. I've gone and put my battery somewhere, but anyway, a AAA battery is the same as this. However, that is it's a sort of like a tablet pen. It's 8mm. So if you look at the difference between the two, it's sort of hard to tell, isn't it? And sort of, can you see that one is slightly bigger than the other? Let's try with a different light. I mean, in my eye, that's slightly smaller than the other. But if you get a AAA battery, do you know what? If it's copper, these are copper pipes, and you're not sure, we're gonna measure it. No, we're not only gonna measure it. We're gonna take a picture of ourselves measuring it. That's how important it is. It's really important, because at the end of the day, if that is 8mm copper, if it happened to turn out to be 8mm copper, well, we know we've got 22mm copper down here, which would mean that this floor would need to be lifted in order to be able to put 50mm copper to this radiator. And in that case, this is an LVT floor. How would we do that? So there's a lot of extra expense and disruption caused by those two very slightly different things. So we pay it very close attention. So that's something we will do when we come. What else can I tell you about Microbore? So you get the fact that the reason why Microbore piping, probably just a little recap, the reason why it's an issue is because it creates a pinch point on the circuit, so it diminishes the amount of heat output that the radiator will give you. It's not the first time he's done that. I've got suicidal phone here. So why is that important? Well, basically, we have to demonstrate to the grant authority that we can heat your homes to the CIBSE design code. And if we can't demonstrate that we're heating your room to 18 or 21 degrees, depending on what the type of the room is, so 18 for a bedroom and 21 for a lounge. So, and if you've got Microbore on those rooms, then the actual heat, not least the fact that the whole purpose of doing this is to heat your home. And if you're going to be upgrading your pipe work to get a heat pump to work, you're future-proofing your home, because in the end, low flow temperatures is very much the future. With any low carbon tech, we can't carry on burning small amounts of gas with massive combustion values, with really high calorific values, just to be able to get a little bit of heat in the radiators that's going to heat the room. So low and slow is the key, and we need to make sure that your pipe work is able to basically sustain that. Whew, that was a bit of a marathon, wasn't it? Microbore. Yeah, well, it's one of those things, isn't it? But we can work with it. That's the point. I mean, here there's Microbore. I see loads of it. It's just about that 8mm copper, and then also looking at heat loss and making sure that we can heat your house. There you go. A lot to talk about.